to what is for us, and I hope for a little historic event, in that another Yiddish book is coming out in Melbourne. We certainly know that people in Paris and New York are excited, so I hope that people in Australia will be as well, because every Yiddish book that comes out for us is a sign of continuity of life still going on. And today we will celebrate that little bit of off-label, as we said, living again in our little community. And it's not in many communities today where Yiddish books are published, so it is an event that we can say reaches beyond these shores to the diaspora. This is an enormous project which Andrew Firestone started many years ago, and he'll tell you a little bit about it, so I won't go into detail, but it started at Monash and it ended up at Kadimah, the home of Yiddish in Melbourne. So we are very proud that we are hosting this launch and hosting this book as part of that whole project which began on the internet and has now resulted in this wonderful book of poetry. So welcome to the Kadimah. Welcome, and if you read Yiddish, read the poems, and I'm sure you will find a lot in there to reflect on, to think about, as we have over the years reading them. If you don't read Yiddish, most of them are in translation on the internet, so we'll show you how you can reach those as well. And now I'd like to welcome the editor of the book and the founder of the Yiddish Poetry website project, Andrew Firestone. Mazel tov,
Danke, Alex. Ihr darf wissen, als von die Präsidenten von Kadimah, von Meindel kennt mich, ist Alex der Wahrscheinlichste. Hat, wie man sagt, angenommen dem Sternprojekt mit beiden Händen, und es kommt ihm von mir einen großen Dank. Ist da gewesen in der Früh zugreifendig unser Simcha. Choshevach habe ich ihn gefragt, Mitglieder vom Kadimah-Komitee und Mitglieder vom Kadimah Bechlal, Liebhaber von jiddischer Poesie und Liebhaber von Jiddisch, sie Liebhaber von Poesie Bechlal, und danach die alle meinen und Shoshanes breit und besprochenen Menschen, was befinden sich in Kadimah zum ersten Mal, was sind die Kimmen feiern den Tag mit mir zusammen, sei ich alle begrüßt und ich danke euch bei Kind. Now in English, let me repeat a portion of that and supplement. Thank you to all of you here for coming to make this day a memorable one. I'm especially grateful to the non-Yiddish speakers here, to family and friends who've come to rejoice with me and Susan, to those who contributed to the making of the book, like the illustrator Sharon Maddow. Where are you, Sharon? Sharon, so many people already have expressed amazement at how well your fine drawings fit the poems. I tell them it is your 38th book, and I explain that you studied the translations of each poem before illustrating them. Die schöne Hille, was dabei ist, die Sterne im Himmel, ist die Arbeit von einer Einigung von unserer Avram Shelesnikov, or Hashulam. The beautiful book cover is by a grandson of the late Kadimah scoreboard, Avram Shelesnikov. David Shelesnikov Johnston researched book covers in the Kadimah library before settling on a design and calligraphy which draws on the poet's striving for holiness, which the poet used to represent by the heavenly stars. A poem Shtern wrote in his mid-20s expressed this most succinctly, called To the Star, zum Stern. Ihr Bänken noch die schönste von die Sterne, we long for the most beautiful star. Zu große Herzen haben wir, our hearts are too vast. Verblonget werden doch die Himmel, the skies lose their way. Weinen tief unsere Nacht, our nights cry deeply, Benken are noch die schönste von die Sterne, and long for the most beautiful star. In the book's forward in English, I've acknowledged and thanked all who made publication possible, and as much as I would like to do so, I will refrain from reading through that now. Just a very few words about Shtern. There'll be time for me to tell those interested about him in Yiddish on Thursday, November 27, at Monash, 7:30 in the evening, thanks to Eva Bursten. Yisroel Shtern ist gewesen ein bekannter Journalist und Poet in Varsche zwischen die beiden Weltmuchten. Er hat gelebt in Uremkeit, Ungarn und Neut und ist euch nicht gewesen gesinnt. Shtern hat geschaffen Lieder, sagt mit Motiven von der Natur. Seine gar interessante Spitullieder sind veröffentlicht geworden in Polen und in Amerika und haben gemacht der größten Geräusche. Shtern ist alt gewesen, 48 Jahre, und ist hingekommen in Warschau Ghetto. Stern's debut in his 20s was as a surrealistic poet, but his technique varied over the years. What remained constant was his expression of deep faith. He was one of a handful of good Yiddish poets to remain observant. Shtern was a loner and eccentric. Every week he would study in a Litvak study house in keeping with his teenage education, while he worshipped in a Hasidic shtibel of the Gratzlau. He identified with the poor. He suffered starvation himself. He was respected in literary Warsaw. The experimental theatre of Michael Weichert commissioned from him a translation of The Merchant of Venice, which was performed to acclaim. My work on Shtern goes back to 2004, when I came across the last poem of his that we have. It is the poem of the cat illustration in the book. The poem moved me deeply, and I translated it, and with encouragement from Professor Andrew Marcus at Monash, I began researching Shtern's work. Romek Mokotov, who's sitting here on his own, was then a youngster of 81. He agreed to mentor me, and we have been meeting weekly in the 10 years since. The Internet project has extended to a number of other poets, including Melbourne's Yosel Shtern, and these are all gathered on the Internet at yiddishpoetry.org. Looking after the site for nearly 10 years has been Tom Wilson, and I'm pleased to say that he is here with his wife and children today, who can have the thrill of hearing his name through a microphone. Now, my foreword suggests that you can read the poems and look at translations on your tablet or your computer side by side, and we're going to demonstrate this throughout the afternoon. Shtern's most famous poem, published in 1923, when he was 29, is Springtime in the Hospital, Feeling in Spitul. In this poem, he extols the spiritual experiences of the dying. Don't worry, there are some cheerier poems to come. This poema is written in 10 parts, each of 3 quatrains, and in a moment you will hear read out the first 2 and the last 2 parts. Shtern came from a shtetl between Warsaw and Białystok, Ostrolenki, and while the Warsaw newspapers published his work by Warsaw rule, so to speak, publishing nicht rather than nit, mir seinen, not mir seinen, Unterschied rather than Unterschied, Shtern's own rhyme scheme follows literary or Litvish Yiddish. The last 2 parts you will hear are read beautifully for us by the Melbourne Bialystoker Isaac Appel. The first stanzas are read by my mentor Romek, whose normal Yiddish is a refined literary Yiddish, but I managed to persuade him recently to read in Warsaw dialect. To me, this is fitting, as through this book and through this event today, we remember a Warsaw that is no more. If you like what you're about to hear on your computer at home, you can hear the entire poem read by Romek and read by Isaac as well. And we're going to project the English translation, which is by John Levito, the Yiddish teacher at Stanford, whose family comes from Ostrolenki.
Das Vorstellen, Friedrich im Spätur, es erinnert an die Kranken und Erläutere im Salte, im Verdick Gefahr und sehen Guss, was keiner sehen ist. Liegen spät bei Nacht und schmeicheln in der finsteren Hand. In der letzten Seite Frage, weil es Wetterklor eigentlich ist. Es erinnert an die Kranken, die man oft in seiner Firmung rachen duftig ist, die die Schwarze oft mit Stoffverformen, die frisch in stiller Saum und rauchen wir das Salz, kochen, aber klappt die Nacht wie in eine Zucht zu unternehmen. Es erinnert an die Kranken, zu werden heilig, die warten durch das in der Zündre und der scheiterten Wasser. Es erinnert, wir werden mit Kinder hoch, spaziert in Räumen durch die Täler, das hat mein Geist an die Schwäche und sanften Erschöpfnis. Mannen ist die Liebschaft, das geht nach Tochter, von Bettel zu Bettel, und leicht sie das Euer, und das Arbeit doch auf die erschrockene Stuhl, wenn es keine Geschreie in die Erdwegen teuer. Und Mannen ist die Liebschaft, das hängt ja ins Land, wo rast doch ein Schluck hin, wo Kuhn und allein, das alle setzen sich auf Glas in die Stillkeit, kippen, kachten und puffen, wenn du an der Bein. Und alle Choluren sind davon an Ruhen, die was in der Strahlen und einrollt gelaufen. Ist es nicht, was es einen in der oberverkehrten Welt, die beim Pappen von der eigensten Stuhl liegt nicht. Haucht man jetzt wandelt.
We're jumping to the end now.
Nicht getroffen. Guckt man mitgehen, also die Finster, also liftig. Die Skelka stelle ihre Sterne und Zeit herausgegangen und Zeit bleibt hinterstellig weit. Dort wascht man Leiber mit Benzin und kalle jammernde Säge. Zeit regt sich ein und horcht. Es schwebt wer über hier im langen Saal. Ist mir da ja Feuer, die was husten, die was weinen, die was speien. Und Herr wächst der Tiefe Saal, Welt, Wald und Eis. Es wird geschehen die Tiere, zugemacht, die Augen beschossen mit Kraft der großen Reihen. In ihrer Verteidigkeit sitzt Nacht und weiß, sie ist die letzte Nacht. Nur am Morgen vom Dunkel trägt der Haus der schwere Kopf zu, guckt zum Tier, noch nicht mein Wein, noch nicht mein Kind. Wo sind sie? Wie spät ist es? Guckt der, was wandert in der Stillkeit, schon die erste Zeit zu mir. Einen ordenen Weg habe ich gesehen. Meine ordenen Brüder, ihr seid gegangen wie der Winter durch die Felder geht. Die Ohren schwer rot gehangen wie zwei ungetrunken Eis. Und ich bin noch gegangen, wie der Winter durch die Felder geht. Der Tod hat weiß und weich geregnet. Wir sind gegen verschneite Dörfer, die Nacht hat tief in sich gebeuert. Ein Hund, was doch nicht einmal los. Nicht auf Felder und Feldergänger, ob sich zerliebt in euer Feld und mir seine gewachsenen Steine, ich hab gefühlt in eurem Groß. Als die erste Mühle schon, ist wie die erste Schau gekommen. Die zweite blank im weißen Bettel. Die Glieder hat schon mit dem Kohl gestrahlt, im Reich. Bin ich nicht ordentlich mehr. Jetzt bin ich Platz, jetzt bin ich Feuer. Ich bin Erfüllung und Spital.
Danke, Yisroel. Der Größen der Chronik. Now I want to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Nathan Watsky. It's been Nathan is one of the bastions of the Australian Centre for Jewish Civilization at Monash University. His knowledge of Shtern when I began this project was a huge encouragement to me. He was the first person I found in Melbourne who knew about it. A Yiddish speaker by upbringing, whose father for years was the honorary treasurer of Sholem Aleichem School, Nathan or Nachman was a lover of Aaron Zeitlin's poetry and a scholar of the Kabbalah, which Shtern tried to interest secular literary folk in through his best-known essay. Have we got that up? The essays page. Through his best-known essay, Crowns to Adorn the Head of Yiddish Criticism, which was published in the prestigious Literarische Blätter in 1926. And Nachman's topic today is Crowns upon the Head in the Kabbalah. Please welcome Dr. Wilson.
I couldn't find a word for good afternoon. I couldn't find a word for good afternoon in Yiddish, so guten Nachmittag. We'll have to go for now. Sholem Aleichem Zeitlich. It's now a couple months ago when I got a phone call from Andrew, and he asked if I would be happy to speak at the launch of this book. And as he'll attest, my first response was, "You've got to be kidding. What? There must be someone else. What have I got to do with Yiddish literature?" As some of you may know, I spend all of my days in the intricacies of medieval Jewish texts, in particular for the last 4.5 years I've been working on the Zohar. So my expertise really is Aramaic rather than Yiddish. So of course as a child I frequented these halls on numerous occasions. So my first response was no, I couldn't possibly, I don't really have what to say. And there's one thing I've learned to detest as an academic is to speak outside my area of expertise. So I said, I'm sure you could find someone else. And then Andrew persisted for a few moments, and he mentioned the name of Yisroel Shtern. And you know the saying, you got me at hello? He got me at Yisroel Shtern. The moment he reminded me that Shtern was one of Yisroel Shtern's greatest students, I was there. So Yisroel Shtern, as some of you may know, is perhaps, in my opinion, one of the most interesting Jews of the 20th century, and one of the most interesting Jews of the interwar Warsaw, and that's saying a great deal. Hillel's son, Aaron Shtern, has become a very, very important figure in my life, and it occurred to me that speaking here would give me the opportunity to read with you one of Aaron Shtern's poems, a very, very famous poem which I'm sure many of you know, but any opportunity to read this poem out loud is worthwhile. So we have it here. It goes by various names. Sometimes it's known as Sechs Shuras, sometimes it's known by the opening title, but in any case, ich weiß. Keiner darf mich nicht auf Ort dem Eulen, mich, werte Bettler, auf dem jüdischen Weg heulen. Wer darf lieb und noch dazu der Jiddisch? No bloß das Hoffenlose und in der Erde scheint, und Getlach ist no das, was muss vergehen, und no Ochnoi ist Meridisch. A rough translation on the fly. I know no one needs me in the world. Me, the word beggar in the Yiddish cemetery. Who needs a poem? And what's more, in Yiddish? Only that which is hopeless in the world is beautiful. And godly is only that which is ephemeral. And the only real humility, the only real rebellion is humility. Note the last rhyme, Yiddish and Meridish, written after the war, of course, where the greatest act of rebellion is to hold on to Yiddish. Elsewhere, interestingly, Zeitlich rhymes Yiddish with Chiddish, which is a very important statement that Yiddish still has plenty to say. But I really wanted to commend Andrew on this extraordinary act of cultural rebellion, which this is, in daring to publish a book in Melbourne in 2014 in Yiddish. Is perhaps one of the greatest countercultural moves I've encountered in the last few years, and that's saying something. But I want to speak a little bit about Shtern and try and bring my these two worlds together, the world of Shtern and the world of Kabbalah, which is the world that I spend most of my time. And so in preparing for this, I read very closely Shtern's very, very famous essay crowns to adorn the head of Yiddish criticism. And in fact, I must say, when I heard the title, when I saw the title, I realized there's something going on here. It's not possible that a student of Hillel Seitlin will call that essay by that name and not be alluding to what I think he is alluding to. And I'll say about that in a moment. So if we have the first slide up, please. I'm just going to read with you just a short paragraph from Shtern, where he gives us his theory of the task of the critic. It's a very beautiful paragraph. The only measure of a great artist is the artist's capacity to build a ladder which starts at our sickly feet and stretches upwards so as to approach ever closer to the primordial, regal head and broad, cloud-covered brow of the universal. The critic's task isn't merely to stretch out a finger and point, look, how high? No one needs him for that. Everyone can already see for themselves. But in creating, the artist struggled and fought. Now I'll skip a little bit. Up and down this structure his soul went like the angels in Jacob's dream. But amidst the wrangling, during the feverish journey, something got lost, got left behind. Who will find and uncover it? The job of the critic should be to scramble upwards, level after level, blood boiling and eyes straining, alert for every sign, every trace of a footprint of the eternal wanderer and creator. His job should be to sweep out any light dust, a beautiful Sternism, Strahlenstäub, any light dust that got stuck in the fold, that still remains dozing on a crooked path or hanging on a spiral staircase, to collect it all and reveal it to the joy of those who need it, want it, and long for it. So the task of the critic is to gather that which got left behind. The task of the critic is to gather. And here we encounter the connection with the title of the essay. This motif of gathering and crowns, for someone who's classically trained in Judaism, and in particular in Kabbalah, will immediately send you to one image, and this image, I am nearly certain, lies at the heart of Stern's essay. And here I want to share with you a very old mythological motif from the world of the rabbis, in this case from Shmot Rabbah, a very old text from about the 4th century CE, where we're told the following. Second slide, please. Rabbi Pinchas said, in the name of Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yirmiyah said in the name of Rabbi Abba, when Israel prays, you do not find them all praying as one, but rather each assembly prays on its own, one after the other. When they have all finished, the angel appointed over prayers gathers all the prayers offered in all the synagogues and fashions them into crowns, which he places on the head of the Blessed Holy One. So that's the image. Jews are all praying at different times. When all the praying's done, when Shacharis is over, this angel assembles all the prayers and fashions these prayers and places them as a crown upon the head of God. Another motif, a similar idea is also found in the Talmud, in Kadimah, which may be more familiar. And here we encounter the angel Sandalphon. And we're told about Sandalphon, he is higher than his fellows by a distance of 500 years, and he stands behind the chariot, binding crowns for his Lord. That's his job, is to make wreaths on the head of God. That's the motif from the rabbis. This motif is going to undergo some interesting development in the Kabbalah, and then we'll see what Shtern is doing with this motif, which is most brilliant. But first, just to give you a taste of some Yiddish Kabbalah, one of my interests, now going back a few years, was the way the Kabbalah, and the way the Zohar in particular, entered Yiddish. And so you have a 17th century translation of parts of the Zohar, and I've just chosen those lines which speak to this exact point. And here we have HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God, the Eibishter, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gelust zu Tfilis HaTzidikim und wird gekreizt mit Zayir Tfilis. God lusts, in the best translation, desires the prayers of the righteous, and he's crowned by their prayers. The Malach Sandalphon, that's the angel we just encountered, the Malach Sandalphon nimmt alle Tfilis von Yisroel und macht a coin zu HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The angel Sandalphon takes all of these prayers and makes a crown for God. Note the last line. Noah's is not kasher. After this is very difficult. The Zohar in Yiddish skips all the difficult bits of the Zohar. Paraphrases all. And often it will say, Weiter sein größer Säudes. And it's like ... It doesn't leaves that out. But I'm going to bring you in on the secret today because it's very important for us to get the punchline with Shtern. And here we have the Zohar text that little piece of Yiddish Zohar was actually referring to. The Blessed Holy One, that's God, constantly desires the prayers of the righteous, and crowns himself with their prayers, as they have said. That angel appointed over the prayers of Israel takes all those prayers, fashions them into a crown, and places it on the head of vitality of the worlds, as they have established. What a beautiful name for God, vitality of the worlds. All the more so with prayers of the righteous, desired by the Blessed Holy One, fashioned into a crown with which he is crowned. So far, nothing new. Very essentially the same motif that we encountered in the rabbinic text, we find now in the Zohar. Now we have a little bit of a chiddush to add to Andrew's Meridish Yiddish. Come and see what Rabbi Shimon said. The prayer of a congregation ascends before the Blessed Holy One, who crowns himself with that prayer, because it ascends in many colours, encompassing many facets. Interweaving many colours, it is made into a crown and placed upon the head of righteous one, vitality of the worlds. Whereas the prayer of an individual is not interwoven, but monochromatic, and so not as readily received as the prayer of the congregation. Interesting. The prayer of a congregation is more desired by God. Why? Because it contains multiplicity, contains numerous perspectives. The prayer of an individual, as nice as it is, even of the righteous, is not as desirable as the prayers of the multiple, because God desires and delights in multiplicity. So, putting all that together, what is Shtern on about? Why does he call this essay Crowns to Adorn the Head of Yiddish Criticism? What did he have in mind? And I was very pleased as I was thinking about this to note that the translator, John Levinson, who did an excellent essay on Shtern's essay, didn't quite grasp the full significance of what Shtern's doing. Let's put it all together. In the classical motif, we have an angel, we have God, we have crowns, and we have prayers. Now, in Shtern's secular yet traditional play with the motif, we have the task of the critic takes the role of the angel. The prayers are no longer prayers, but the prayers are poetry. The prayers are literature. And of course, instead of adorning God, one adorns Yiddish criticism. So we have here a secularization of this very, very ancient and beautiful Jewish idea. But now the task of the critic is to gather the literature, to gather the poems, which is the diversity, the multiple voices of humanity, and make those into a crown on our culture. So a secularization of this wonderful Kabbalistic idea. According to the Kabbalah, according to the Zohar, the piece that we just read, we heard that the prayer of an individual is not as desirable as the prayer of the congregation. But I imagine that if God is up there reading poetry, and I hope that's what God does, if God is up there reading poetry, then he will certainly agree that the words of Yisroel Shtern are by no means monochromatic, and thanks to Andrew's efforts of gathering, equivalent to the angel Sandalphon, Andrew's efforts in gathering, we have now a work encompassing many facets, which is certainly adorning this world, the next world, and certainly our community. So Andrew, Meridish Yiddish, and may there be more Yiddish to come.
I'm glad I invited him. Actually, where's that one? He agreed to answer questions, so if there are any questions, please raise your hand and I'll ask you to come straight back. Are there any questions?
We do questions at the end to everyone.
Don't know. You'll have to think hard now, Sue, I think. Think hard now.
They can approach him individually later.
Okay, questions over drinks later then. All right, thank you very much. Now, the next item in this rich cultural program is the reading of some poems. Hanne Kalman, that Jetzt Lehnen Verhins 3 Lieder. I want to thank Anne in advance because the last poem will be sung immediately after she's recited it. It's been set to music by Tommy Kalinsky in the last weeks, and our Melbourne singer Eliza Gray will be performing it for us. Elisa Gray will be performing it for us. Anne Kalman has been a faithful contributor to Kadimah, reading beautifully for many years for the Mittwoch Club, and now she's active in a weekly reading group. On a personal note, she was kind enough to present on Shtern on my behalf earlier this year to Limud Oz while I was away. The first poem she's reading, for those of you who have books with you, is on page 145, an Altem unbettled, but don't worry because we're going to project the English translation, and I think, Alex, the picture as well, is that right? Yeah, there you go, okay. So now I'll ask Hannah to come up on the stage. Please put your hands together.
Ein Bettler in Gas. Wie mit geheimen Xav von einer verschweren Bande ist sein Honim verschrieben mit Pasmes Horn. Von sein Eug fallen Feichkeiten, eibiger Regen. Über sein Leib ist gegangen, ein Jahr noch ein Jahr, mit hilfiger Zein von gesterbeter Säge. In die finsteren Winkeln von zerrissenem Ponem hängen keitlich blutvergliverte, harte, in schwarzlicher Reutkeit wie verlegert, verdarrte Karsche. Sein blutiger Bord ist bereit, sich zu laufen über die stille Wegen von seinem Brust. Gleich, sie wollte auf der Älter gesucht sich ein Heim, nur griebetig, grau ist sein Busen verleihen. Ist sein Busen der eisige Breck, weil in ihm schlafen der Erinnerung teichende Freude. Durch zerspaltene Pagoden kommen Strahlen auf die Gasse. Der Guff von einem Bettler reißt von sich Passen, warft fleischige Passenereien in den Tod. Verschämt sich der Tod und behält sich, entläuft in der Bergheuchkäppige 7x7. Ist dort einer allein mit dem Dunkel geblieben und mit dem Schotten sein Herz geworfen gewahrt auf ein Stern. Derweil droht der Himmel der Heiser des Quern und ist Feier nach dem Blut und beim Sof graue Tränen. Hat der Dunkel die Himmeln Stillerheit abgeschräuft, hat sei Faun, nur sei haben bei Zeiten sich angehabt, krampig an die erschrockene Kette vom wachsenden Turms. Und so steien sei. Stützen seine Guffen die Bläue auf steinerne Spitzen. Punkt wie im Gastor, halt der Bettler geklemmt unter den Arms, lange Kuljes und lehnt sein horrigen Körper schwer. Fiel der Bettler wie ein schwarz-weit Feld zerwachsende Nacht. Und neben ihr wächst eine Dame und ein Jüngling lacht. Durch ein Reif springt das Jattel, zersunken und stief. Nur beim Roger-Lantern warf ein groß gelber Twer auf ein Hut wie ein Sieb, auf ein schackig Gesicht. Blieb der Reif bei dem Jattel, wo stief, gaft, set ein Auges zerschnitten und trieb, zweite Aug mit Kas aufgeprallt und es brennt, und wie offene Griebe ein paar Betten der Hände. Die Dame spreist bleich, vergartelt mit frei. Sie hat Lichter in Eug und Gesang von der Stadt. Noch versäudest hat an ihr das Kind bei dem Kleid. Mami, sieh dir, oh, der Alte ist Gott.
Everywhere the campus.
Oh, the campus. Jeder Sonnenstrahl ist ein Zirkelspitz. Jeder Sonnenstrahl ist ein Zirkelspitz. Es sind alle Fjorsten ausgemosten. Nicht bloß Schneien, Mabel und Blitz. Euch, jeder Mensch, ist auf sein Posten. Wer mit dem Spodel und wer mit dem Lied. Alle sind auf der Wach gestellt. Bei vergossenem Feld, bei chorrer Welt. Da ist dein Platz, Hiet. Ayusam lacht. Ayusam lacht in zerrissene Pagodim, schreckt sich und läuft über Gassen und Gässlach. Hat etwas gegampft, jagt man ihm nach. Er tanzt durch ein Parkan, guckt sich herum, ein Stall, ein Kalb mit 2 Augen, sei dacht sich der Zeilen, die Kie ist nicht da, die große, bräune Mame nicht da. Ein Bude, ein Hund mit 2 Augen, es dacht sich, sei schreien, man hat uns geschlagen, Gott hat man uns geschlagen. Zittert der Kleine und wickelt das Beitele auf. Ein Spiegerle, Brillen, ein Kuberneditke, pfui, flieh, das Gannabel spielt sich mit dem Wind und der Wolke und schenkt seine Summen, ein Spiegerle, Brillen, ein Kuberneditke und lacht, steigt und lacht. Packt man ihn da und er springt durch den Park und läuft. Ein Jusem in zerrissene Pagodim, durch den Tag, durch der Gas, durch der Welt.
Thank you very much. And now we'll hear the same poem sung to music written how long ago, Tony? You wrote this 6 weeks ago? Less than 6 weeks ago. Thank you so much, Elisa. I'm very grateful to Tommy for fitting 2 songs into her busy schedule, the one we just heard and the one that the choir is going to perform in a moment. We're blessed to have such a talented songwriter, and we need to encourage more songs from her. Please allow me the pleasure of reading the next song to you first. It's a short, cheerful poem. Have you got it? In Summer, Zummerdick. Zummerdick, lassen die Felder sich glätten von Summer und grienen ihm unter die Hand. Beginnen begannt, schein ich euch im Feld und grien mit. Zwischen Tag und Dorf schneit sich heran der frische Glanz von einem Eisentanz beim Feuer in Hand. Scharf klingt durch mir der reife Zappel von Gesundheit Fuhr. Noch unter der Kosse schmecken die Sangen und fallen beleicht. Wir haben gelebt. Auf die übergebliebene hartsichere Wurzeln marschier ich, unter die heiße Befällung von die Felder und hoch mich gut zieh zum Takt von die Tritt. Heint gelebt. Und morgen ist noch Euchet super. Danke. And now you will hear the amazing Mir Kommen on choir. And they are in their finery, which I haven't seen before. So get ready for it. Thank you.
I need 2 chairs.
Just says record. Well, the one that says record. Yeah. Okay. It's always easy. I want to be sure.
choir's only been singing that for 2 weeks because Tommy wrote that one only 2 weeks ago, right? 2 weeks ago. My friends, that ends the Shtern program as such, and now the choir will entertain us with some suitably selected songs.
Selected by Andrew.
Which would have warmed Shtern's heart, I'm sure.
I think I have to say that the first one is Soll schon kommen die Geule, the longing for redemption, and I think it ties in with what Nathan spoke about, and yes, the angels and the crowns and the waiting and the ascension to the highest heights.
Lost
see Yisroel Shtern's message has definitely reached the secular. Andrew asked us to sing Fisher Lied, written by Elisa Greenblatt. Not that many poems and songs, words and music written by a woman, very special woman, the mother-in-law of Woody Guthrie.
Thank you so much. The Willkommen Choir of the Bund organization, and they always say bescheinen jede Simcha. They really beautify every occasion. Thank you so much. A special clap from family from each book. Why not? Andrew, thank you so much for all the work. Nathan, Anne, Elisa, Tommy, the choir, everybody participating behind the scenes, Benny, thank you so much for today. It's a real uplifting occasion to have something like a book launch and a presentation of it, a proper launch at the Kadimah. I've got a message from overseas, and that's Arnold Zabel, who couldn't be here, but he very much wanted to be. So I'll read you his message. Dear Andrew, I wish you well for Sunday's launch. Ideally would love to be there, but I am in Moscow now. After past 10 days or so in St. Petersburg, a wonderful city and great to connect with long-lost family. An epic tale, no doubt he'll tell us. We'll send you more news about it and would love to meet for a coffee when I return early December. For the meantime, Mazel Tov. It's a great achievement. A lot of work went into it, a lot of meetings with the amazing Romek. You have created something new in your translations. I think it will be a real simcha on Sunday. Sei gesund, Arnold Zabel. And so it was a simcha. Now we do have tea, coffee for you to have, biscuits and a little bit of wine, a bisschen Maschke euch, a bisschen starkes. So there's something to drink here. But also you are all invited to Andrew's and Susan's home for drinks and nibbles from 6 o'clock. I'll give you the address. So you might pull out your phones now, whatever you use for writing these days. That's 30 Somers, S-O-M-E-R-S, Somers Avenue, Malvern. It's off Glenferrie Road, and they would be very pleased to see all of you at their place from 6 o'clock till 8 for drinks and nibbles. You're most welcome to go there afterwards. If not, you're also welcome to have a drink here. So, thank you very much for coming. A großen Dank euch. Seid gesund und alt